what's going on? My name is Amy Nicholas. Welcome. And in today's video, I'm talking about 2 lessons learned from indicators. So today we're on the cusp of figuring out what this whole Liberation Day is going to be about, April 2nd. The market has not closed yet, but I am done day trading for the day. I took 2 trades today. How did it go? Did I end in profit? Did I get anything green on the day? First trade, so I'm doing part of this 20 trades experiment. Right now, I am in the second phase of doing 20 trades. The first phase, I was trading 1 share per trade. I'm in my second set of 20, and I'm now trading 2 shares per trade. And I hit number 16 and 17 today in terms of that 20 trades. And again, I'm just doing the 2 shares, and I have a trailing stop on every trade of 75 cents. So that's kind of my parameters. And I trade stocks and ETFs, and my favorites right now, pretty much Tesla and Tesla. almost daily, it seems like I'm trying Tesla. This morning, the market opened, and it was kind of just, as usual, a little bit hard to read. And then I was like, things are feeling very bullish. And I considered going long on Tesla. Now, normally if I go long or short, I'm using ETFs to do Tesla. TSLR is the long ETF and TSLQ is the short. And I looked at TSLR and, even though Tesla was bullish and green and going up, that stock is so inexpensive. It's like $14 of the ETF that the moves that it would make, you're talking pennies, dimes, maybe. And my goal is to have a $1 take profit if I'm risking with my 75-cent trailing stop. And it just didn't feel like it was a good setup for me in terms of risk to reward. So it was kind of just waiting and waiting for potentially a pivot, a reversal, that Tesla would start to go the other way. And I was looking at my stochastic oscillator at the bottom of my chart here, this wavy looking line over here, and there was a signal. So for my entries, because I'm looking for kind of confirmation on the stochastic, I'm looking for the 5-minute candle closing in the direction of where I'm going, red or green, and I'm looking to see that the volume is there, the price action is there, because I like to trade the momentum, right? So it looked very much like Tesla was reversing. And I saw the curling on the oscillator. I saw that we were in the overbought zone, which is usually, hey, things are going to turn around pretty soon, most likely. But I waited for that crossover and the curl down. So that was my confirmation. I had my 5-minute candle close. And the price, like Tesla usually is in the open, moving very quickly. Now, I think I didn't jot the time down on this, but I didn't take a trade for at least the first 20 or 30 minutes of today's open, which is unusual for me. And now I kind of look back and I'm like, my best setups seem to occur within the first 15 minutes of the open. And so this trade, I took TSLQ 44.52 was my price entry. And initially it went in my direction and I was green. And I'm like, okay, Tesla keeps pointing down, we're going to watch the momentum, make sure we're staying in, the right place. And then for whatever reason, I wasn't paying attention to the 9-day EMA. And, I had these other signals, when I actually got in on the trade, the stochastic oscillator was kind of in the 70s zone. So it moved away and was kind of signaling we moved from overbought to now coming back down, kind of showing the downtrend, right? So I had these confirmations, and I don't think I did anything wrong per se in this setup. But when I got stopped out at 44.15, which was a loss of 74 cents, because I'm just trading 2 shares, I looked back at the chart and I was like, what did I misread here? Did I do anything wrong? And I came to the conclusion, I really didn't do anything wrong, but I skipped over this indicator. The 9-day EMA, I should have waited because it hadn't shown confirmation that it was below it. It was testing it. Right where I was in the trade, it was testing. And so it basically bounced from that and went back up, basically kicking me out of my, my short on Tesla. So that was a loss. That was a red trade. Now the second trade I took, I, again, sort of just sat back, waited for opportunity. I was looking at other stocks. I was looking at Palantir, and kind of regretted not getting into that one because it had a nice rip. And again, when Tesla was looking bullish again, I'm like, I just don't want to take the ETF TSLR because the price action is just so minimal, right? I would be like kind of waiting to get a decent return, or, you know, for that risk. And I could have bought directly Tesla, but using a trailing 75-cent stop loss, which is like my rule right now, not deviating from that, I'm sure it would have kicked me out very quickly because Tesla has these, you know, moves, and to use such a small trailing stop, it's probably going to kick me out. So I just find it better to play with the ETFs instead. And when it looked like things were setting up again for Tesla to go to the downside, this time I had all the things again in order. You know, I had the stochastic pointing down. I was in the, you know, overbought zone, starting to curl. The lines were crossing over, which is usually like, you know, entry, go. This one, I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the crossover lines were at, but of course, again, looked for the 5-minute candle closing. Also looked for 3 1-minute candle closes that were red, kind of like stair stepping. So it was like an extra, you know, confirmation to get in this. So I got in again at 44.98. As you can see, it did jump because my initial trade was in at 44.52. It clearly did jump, but it was just outside of the time I was in that trade. And then this one, it definitely showed confirmation that it was below the 9 EMA. It had candles closed below the 9 EMA, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like this time, you know, I'm gonna get it. Then I look at the chart and I'm like, oh, dang it. The price action is basically bouncing back and forth between the 9, which it had dropped below, confirmed, and the VWAP. And it hadn't confirmed the VWAP. And I'm like, oh, dang it. You know, I'm looking at the chart like after the fact, like, oh, duh. And, you know, I'm looking at Tesla, right? Because that's what I'm actually monitoring. Even though I'm in TSLQ, I'm looking at Tesla. And Tesla was kind of in this range for a little bit of 261. And when I saw it was in between those two lines, I kind of had this aha moment of, Amy, if it looks like it's going to bounce off the VWAP, get out, you know? And so I had a price point in my mind of 262. If I saw it tap 262, I was going to manually exit. So I was trying to find a good place to exit. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it does reject the VWAP. Maybe it goes below. I was kind of holding and waiting out for it. It was taking too long. It wasn't happening. The candle, I'm waiting on the 5-minute candle, and it's, you know, just kind of back and forth, and then it started to look more bullish. So as soon as I see the 262, I'm like, that's it. Flatten the position. Basically just cancel my trailing stop, cancel my take profit. That wasn't happening, and sold at the market. So my 2 shares, you know, I got a loss in this one of, I think, 58 cents. So I felt like today was really about the lessons learned from these indicators. You know, my total P&L, negative $1.58. Again, just trading the 2 shares. Not a big deal. Would I have loved to have one of those green? Yeah, of course. But I'm trying to kind of reframe the fact that, one, I do day trading because it's fun. Like this is like the basis of why I started. I'm like, this will be fun, you know. No, it really is. And then secondly, did I learn something? And most definitely, both of these trades taught me really valuable lessons that I know now going into my next trading day, I can immediately use. Like, oh, right, you know, I have these indicators on my chart. And sometimes you don't want to be overthinking it, getting into the trade, like, well, this has to be right, and this has to be right, and this has to be right. And then, you know, and you see your setup and you get in. But now I know to wait just a little bit for confirmation if it's ranging in these zones. If it's hugging the 9 EMA, if it's hugging the VWAP, wait for confirmation so that I can get the best move. In both cases, the stock or the ETF that I bought initially went to the green on my P&L. And then, you know, because it was bouncing between these lines on the one trade and then the 9 EMA on the first trade, because it was bouncing around that, that's what shifted it back to the bullish side. And, now I know going forward, like, okay, 9 EMA, have that, look at it, make sure if I'm going to short, it's confirmed close below, and that it's also confirmed close below the VWAP. Like I shouldn't have entered in until it was either clearly above both of those lines or clearly below both of those lines. So now I know looking ahead. And also, if it's long, like if it's bullish that day, it's just, this is the trend, trade something else. Like I'm starting to think that it really just does not make sense for what I'm trying to go for, risk and reward, to go along with Tesla on these ETFs, until I change my parameters, maybe down the line after I finish this experiment of the 20 trades, then I can adjust the trailing stop. And then I can actually buy just shares of Tesla, which totally have the capital to do it. Like I said, I just find it easier sometimes to trade the ETFs. It's just simple, right? With my trailing stop. So those were the lessons learned. Using indicators, it's not always like clear cut. Of course, when you get in, like, you just never know, right? You're just going for the probability that, hey, this is my setup, and I think, based on these other confirmations, that it's going to go this direction. And today I was just, incorrect on both, which is fine. And I put all this in my post-trading notes of what to look out for. And just kind of also that when I did get in the second time with Tesla, at this point, I want to say it was close to an hour after the open. So it's, momentum is still there, but it's starting to slow down just a little bit. And it was too choppy. Like I really should have just stayed back, even though I was watching for these confirmations. It was still in sort of a choppy range. And I said should have gone long, but I knew the reward was not going to be worth it. That the short reward, going short with TSOQ, was a slightly better setup for what I like to trade, especially if I'm going to go for, the dollar take profit potential. So yeah, in hindsight, I probably could have gotten it with TSLR, gone long. I just would have been in the trade longer. It might have taken, 20, 30 minutes. And who knows, I probably would have gotten impatient and sold off anyway, because that's usually not my trading style. I'm usually, somewhere in a trade between as little as 30 seconds to 5 minutes are usually my best trades for momentum, quick wins, trying to get the volume with what I'm trading. So anyways, feel free to like and subscribe if you want to hang around and watch some more of the videos. Just recently published my 4-month update on day trading. So now I'm in April, month 5, and I'll probably do another one after this. But if you are interested in how the journey's going thus far and how I initially started with full position sizes, took some losses, like in month 2 and 3, and then kind of reframe what I was doing as part of these 20 trades experiments of scaling back very, very small, to work on that mindset, the psychological, issues that come up with trading, why I did that. Feel free to go back and look at the videos on the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.